Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Back J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number one in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
Oh boy, it's that time again, everybody. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio, and I'm your host, Critical Failure. It's episode 252. This week I'm actually kind of shocked at how much I have to go over. There's a bunch of new games coming out that I'm really excited for. It's really rare that I start to get the bug, the excitement for new games, but once in a while it does happen, and that's what's going on right now. In addition to that, I've got some top-notch van casting and a 10-minute guest spot, audio comment from our good buddy Balzac. Oh my goodness. Great stuff. So look, there's no time to waste. We're going to be listening to Protodome this week. Protodome's got an album out called Chip Funk that you can buy at Name Your Price. A couple of choice tracks off of this one. The first one, the lead-off track, is like a short little sample. It's only 30 seconds long. It's one of those sort of intro type tracks, but I think it perfectly encapsulates what this what Protodome is capable of. Take a listen. Alright, boys and girls, before we head over to the van this week, let's do the news bulletin. Now, I saved this so that I could read it in the studio. There is a series of games that I used to play back in the MS-DOS era called The Bard's Tale. Now, you might be familiar with the PS2 era Bard's Tale game. No. The Bard's Tale was a trilogy of games that came out, Commodore 64, MS-DOS, Amiga, a few platforms, all the big name computer platforms of the time. It was a lot like Wizardry, not like the old school Wizardry, and I enjoyed it. There was also a game called the Bard's Tale Construction Set where you could build your own game, top to bottom, script, story, everything it took, which is pretty cool. I had this in a big box of like computer RPGs that I bought way back in the day. And as old school MS-DOS games get released on GOG.com, I've always kind of felt the Bard's Tale was missing. I mean, they got the Ultima games, and the old Bard's Tale trilogy has always been missing. Now, if you buy that PS2 era Bard's Tale game, I know on the computer it does come with the classic games, but it comes with the Commodore 64 ports. The original Bard's Tale trilogy has always been missing, and it still is. Well, as it turns out, they remade it in HD, so we don't get the original trilogy, and there's no Bard's Tale Construction Set, but they do have like enhanced versions of the old games. It came out this past May, I think. I had no idea, so I was really excited about that. And not only do we have the original Bard's Tale trilogy on Steam, but there's also Bard's Tale Part 4. I don't know when the last one came out, but it had to have been the late 80s, or at the latest 1990, maybe 91. So it's been quite a bit. This has been a sleeping franchise there, for quite a long time. And then the PS2 era game is like got little to nothing to do with the old dungeon crawlers. So that's pretty cool. Being a classic computer gaming fan, that was pretty neat. Quake Champions has got a new patch just around the bend. Let's see. There was a bulletin about it on Rock Paper Shotgun where they said the Quake 2 character Athena's release has been announced. But wasn't Athena from Quake 3? I don't know. That doesn't really matter. I'm just glad to see Quake Champions patching and evolving and just doing cool things. Even the short time I've played it, it has improved itself. It has evolved like a Pokemon. which has been fun. Played a little Quake Champions earlier today. It was a good time. They added, I think I mentioned this last week, but they added a map called The Longest Yard, I believe it's called. It was one from Quake 3 Arena where it was out in space, like an open air space, and it was a few floating platforms with a lot of like turbo like jump pads that you could use to jump between them. In the Quake 3 days, it was really popular, and now when I play, it's super popular. So that was pretty cool to see that be added to Quake Champions. They're doing a good job giving it the old Quake feel. We've also got Frozen Synapse 2 is getting ready to come out. Frozen Synapse was a strategy game that I really liked, and they tried. There were a couple of like side games. They made a game where it was like Frozen Synapse, like a strategy game, but instead of shooting each other, you were playing football. It was called Cortex Command. Then there was Frozen Synapse Prime, which is basically just the same game, but they consoleized it a little bit, tried to give it a little facelift, a little HD upgrade. Well, this is Frozen Synapse 2, so they have increased the scope. So now you can go in buildings, and the map is much more vast. And based on the trailer, it looks pretty cool. Also, I wanted to talk about Dragon Quest XI. Dragon Quest XI has made a debut on the PC, which is kind of blows my mind a little bit that a brand new Dragon Quest game is now on the PC. I used to love the Dragon Quest games. I managed to get a hold of number 8 on the PS2 many years ago, and that was a big deal for me. One thing I love about Dragon Quest is how it's one of the few series that wears its runtime like a badge of honor. This game takes 100 hours to beat. If you don't have that much time, then you better get to stepping, son, because you're not ready for all the grinding involved in Dragon's Quest. I remember that being the case when Dragon's Quest VII came out, which, by the way, Dragon's Quest VII is, or I guess that one was still being called Dragon Warrior, the PS1 game that came in the double disc case. That's on my get list. I've got to get that. Got to get it. I know I've told this story before, but I wanted it back when I wanted it. It was one of those games I had to have it. That was one of the games that I needed to have. And of course I couldn't afford it when it came out. But I was in a GameStop. This is towards the end of GameStop carrying PS1 games, and there it was. I believe it was, I gotta look it up now. Is it Dragon Warrior 7 or Dragon Quest 7? We're gonna look it up. I believe it's Dragon Warrior, but I'm gonna look to make sure. Dragon Warrior 7 box art. Let's see. Yeah, Dragon Warrior 7. It sure was. And there it was. And it was going for $30 at the time. And I had like $28.50 in my pocket. And then I went home and I went back the next week to buy it, and it was gone. And not only was it gone from that store, it was gone from the face of the earth, never to return. I never saw it again. I went looking on eBay years later, and the price had skyrocketed to over $100. And I think lately, probably thanks to the PSN, I think now it's a much more attainable title. I know at one point it went back down to like 40 or so. Dragon Warrior 7 PS1 Black Label, fully tested, 100% working, no manual, $30. It looks like between 30 and 50 I can get it. I would pay that. $33. There it is. Oh my gosh. You're killing me. I gotta navigate away from this page. I don't have that kind of money right now. Not right now. But it's on my get list. That's one that I want. Let's go back to the notes. Yeah, so it was cool to see that debut on the PC, because it kind of legitimizes the PC as a platform for video games just a little bit more, which is pretty neat. Let's see. There's a company called Vamblier, which you might be familiar with if you play freeware games. Vamblier made, back when I was still doing like mostly freeware coverage, Vamblier was a big name because they came out with a game called Super Crate Box that I liked an awful lot, and they haven't been around much. I don't know if they've done anything since then, but I certainly haven't heard their name since then. So they're coming back with a new puzzle shooter game that was shown off. It was teased a little bit at PAX, but not a lot of details were announced. What else happened? And we got Spelunky 2. Spelunky 2's coming out. I loved Spelunky, so this new version of the game is adding online co-op and some other stuff, which seems pretty cool. Spelunky was such an awesome game. This is one of those games where it's like, just knowing that it's from that series and presumably from Derek Wu, then I'm in. I'm in, because the first one was awesome. And then we have finally what you've probably heard of from all over the place. Streets of Rage 4 is coming out. So all that being said, that's really a quick sum up of what's going on. Excuse me, with new games. You know what? I'm also excited about the new Tropico game. Tropico 6 is getting ready to come out, but I don't have that written here. So yeah, all that plus Tropico 6. And that's what's going on in video gaming right now. So a lot to be excited about, which is pretty cool. And I haven't felt like that in such a long time. Well, all right, boys and girls. Now that we've done the in the news bulletin, the gaming news, let's go ahead and go back to the van. We're gonna go back to, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, and we'll have some fun. It's van casting time, boys. What is today? Tuesday morning? Right. Once in a while I have these mornings where when I start the van cast, I don't even know what day it is. Oh man, and there's a lot of good stuff going on in the news, especially for PC gamers. A lot of really cool looking games on the horizon. First of all, can we talk a little bit about Dragon Quest? Dragon Quest 11, is it? I believe it's 11. The new Dragon Quest released brand new on Steam. That to me is the coolest thing. It's the coolest thing. I haven't played a Dragon Quest game in quite a while. The last one I got a hold of was Dragon Quest 8, right? We had number 8 on the PS2, which was a staggering game. It was really awesome. And then after 8, the next one that came out was on the DS. I didn't get it, but I was saving up for it. And then it was kind of one of those things where I was putting it off, and then they shut down the Wi-Fi for the DS. I was like, oh well, I'm not going to buy it now. And that was the last time I looked at a new Dragon Quest game. So now that they've come to Steam, it's like they've entered my world again. Dragon Quest has re-entered my lexicon after being gone for quite some time. So that's pretty exciting, because I like those games. I really do. And that's one of a bunch of games that's getting ready to come out. But Streets of Rage has a new game coming out, which, by the way, I feel like they owe us, since they issued a cease and desist to Streets of Rage Remake. Remember that? Remember Streets of Rage Remake? It was under it was in development for 5 or 6 years. Then it was released to the internet for 2 days, and then they issued a cease and desist order. Now I know how these things go. I know that they have to protect their copyright, and that's just how it is. But it's like, come on, if you're gonna sack a gorgeous project like that, at least make one of your own. And so finally we're gonna get that. We're gonna get another Streets of Rage game, which is pretty cool. There were a few others, like Tropico has a new game coming out and whatnot. But I took a list of articles, and I'm gonna go through a bulletin of what's new and happening in the world of video games. And I'll probably go over that back in when I'm back in the studio. But for now, it's the Vancast. Vancast is time to shoot from the hip. I opened my very first Ratchet & Clank game today. I ordered a Ratchet & Clank game Going Commando. And it's funny because I struggle to remember what the tagline is. It was Going Commando. And I got it for very inexpensive. Like, I was under the impression these Ratchet and Clank games were like really beloved titles. Or maybe they are, and it's just that's what a PS2 game costs these days, which is pretty cool. But I got this thing for like $4 or something. $4. And it showed up in the mail. And this morning I finally ripped it open. I've been the few minutes I have to play games, I've been preoccupied with other stuff lately. I've been playing a lot of Quake Champions, which is still fun. I played Quake Champions this morning. It was good. They re-added one of the old Quake 3 arena maps. The one that takes place in space and has all the springboards. I can't think of what it's called. Again, it's written down on the bulletin back in the studio. But yeah, it was fun, man. It's a good game. I was able to get on at 5:30 in the morning Eastern Standard Time and find a game. So enough people are playing it that it's still accessible, which is great. I feel like I have to enjoy it to its fullest now because I know how these things go. It's not going to be populated forever. Most games don't stay populated, right? You've got your heyday when they come out, when they're popular, and you play them, and then eventually the player base dies down. And if you're lucky, you've got a few hardcore people you can play with, but in most cases, that's really it. All right, now bear with me. I got a cop right next to me, so I'm trying to make it so that he can't see my phone. It's completely legal for me to talk into my phone as long as I don't have it up to my face, as long as I'm using a speaker. But I worry anyway. So give me a second here. All right. This makes me a little nervous. That's okay. Bear with me, guys. Just bear with me. Alright. What was I talking about now? I lost my train of thought completely. Ah, yes. Video games. I enjoy them. I've had a bit of a hankering to go back and play The Sims again. Haven't played The Sims in a while. I started that series with The Sims 3, and that's what I played. That was really my introduction to The Sims. I played The Sims 3 on a laptop that couldn't really handle it. So it would... Oh, hang on a second. There we go. I can turn the blower off. That should sound a little bit better now. I played The Sims 3 on a laptop that couldn't really handle it. So I had to dumb the graphics way, way down, which was okay. And also it took like a half an hour to get into the game. From the moment I clicked on the game in my Steam library, yes, because I had it on Steam, it took a half an hour for all of the loading to do its job and get me into the game where I could start playing. But I've built a better computer since then, so I mean, it's a much more accessible game now. I never really spent any time with the earlier games, though. I got Sims 2. At one point, I was buying Sims 2, what do you call it? Games from, like, the thrift store? What's happening here? Is this really everybody backed up to get on the highway? Uh-oh. I think I'm in trouble, boys. I'm waiting in line for the off-ramp to get onto the highway. And it is way backed up. Something's going down. There must have been some sort of accident up there somewhere. That's not good. Alright, you know what, boys? I'd hate to do this, but I feel like I gotta rein it in. I can tell you if I was back home now and I could play anything I wanted, I'd play Space Cadet Pinball because competition's really heating up. Hemrock has the crown and the high scoreboards over at TigerClawTV.com. Click on forums. And him, me, and Desm 101. I want to play Space Cadet Pinball, and I want to play some of the other games that they've listed scores on. Desm had some scores on NES Pinball, and he and Hemrock both played Rollerball, so those are a couple games I'd like to play. Wouldn't that be awesome if I could do that right now? You ever have those moments where you just, oh man, I wish I could just forget it all. Forget work. I'm not going today. I'm just gonna stay home, not helping anybody, not doing anything positive. I'm not gonna make any headway. I'm just gonna tread water today. You ever have any days where you want to do that? That's me right now. You know what you have to do? You gotta blast right through it, like the Kool-Aid Man. Oh yeah! Blast through those problems with one full cup of sugar. Just douse all your frustrations in granulated sugar. We call this diabetes explosion therapy. Oh yeah! You guys are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. We're gonna play another track from Protodome. What's going on, everybody? You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. This time, I just like to take a minute aside to thank the patrons. This is a Patreon-sponsored show. I do the best I can to make sure this comes out every single week. And these guys are giving of their resources to help make that happen. So what I can offer them is early access to the show, as well as some supporter-only content. And I also read their names off in a Hall of Distinguished Gentlemen. They are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, and the Cartridge Brothers. Thank you guys so much. You know, I got a hold of this this one of these old Choose Your Own Adventure type books. It was a Dungeons and Dragons themed Greyhawk book. I can't remember what it's called. I just got it last night when I was out on a date with my wife. We went to the thrift store and we were poking around. And I was reading it, and I thought it might be fun to do a dramatic reading of a Choose Your Own Adventure book and have you guys make the decisions via comments. And those would then affect the adventure. I think that might be... I think that would be 1 part retarded, 2 parts fun, and make a cocktail of a good time. Okay, so let's do this, boys and girls. We're gonna go back to the van because this was a week that heated up more and more as time went on. So stay with me. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio.
We are van casting, boys and girls. Thursday morning, early Thursday morning. I'm driving off to work. Just leaving right now. And it's the middle of September, and it was a perfect 71 degrees when I walked outside this morning to go to my car. Very nice middle ground. We only get this a couple of days out of the year, in my opinion, at least in the fall. So it's not burning up, but I don't need a jacket yet either. It's really nice. It's been a nice morning. Let's see. I got up bright and early. I was able to play some Rust on Steam, which I've been warming up to again over the past few days. I didn't really know how to play Rust when I tried it before. And I put about 13 hours into it, which I know that number because of the way Steam keeps track of time. I put about 13 hours into it, my first run through. And I learned how to gather supplies. I learned some basic crafting, and that was it. But now I've learned how to build and maintain a base, which is pretty neat. Gathering supplies and expanding and defending it and stuff, which is pretty cool. I built, one thing that game does really well is tension. When you first spawn, you can just kind of run around willy-nilly because you don't have anything to lose if they kill you. But I've noticed that once you get a base together, every time you hear footsteps, it's like time to run and hide in the bushes. It becomes a hunter-hunted type situation. I had a few instances where the sun was setting, so I ran home to my base. Alright, so now I'm in my base, which is relatively small. And I can try and pass away the night, or I can risk going out and being seen. There's no monsters out in the night like there would be in Minecraft or something. But the problem is you can't see anything unless you use a torch. And if you light a torch up, everyone's going to be able to see you for miles around. So you kind of mark your location. So it's not a long-term solution, but until I get a hold of some good weapons, I've just been staying in at night when I can. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I know some basic crafting, which has been enough to make the game fun. There's a lot of things I don't know. Like, supposedly there's certain crafting stations out in the world that you can't build, and you have to go find them. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. So, I'm still learning about the game. But at this point, I'm 20 hours in, so I kind of feel like I should know some of this stuff already. But that's Rust. It's fun. I've been enjoying it. I had a couple of instances where, more than one, where, oh, that's right, this is what I was getting at about the whole going in at night. So I would go into my base at night, and I would light up a torch so that I could see. And I suspect that you could tell there's a light on inside the building from outside. Like if you were to walk by my base and look at it, you could see that there was a light on inside. Because I had a couple instances where people would try and pound on the walls of the base. And I had one instance where I put my torch out as soon as I heard footsteps, and like they got real close and then drifted off. So I guess they walked right by like my house and didn't beat the door down and kill me, which is good. The tension, listening to the footsteps around the base, it's pretty thick, pretty tense moments. It's a fun game, very fun. So that's Rust. The back to school sale on GOG.com ended, and I didn't end up buying anything, which I don't know. I know I missed out on a couple things. I wanted to get some more of the Ultimate games for $1, and there were a couple other like real small purchases like that, but I just didn't make it happen. So back in 2007, it was a long time ago. Man, it was 11 years ago. Wow. Right around the time I first opened Tiger Claw TV. A year before. That was in 2008. At that time, you could go to the grocery store, and on the magazine rack, one of the magazines they carried was a print edition of Shonen Jump. I'm not much of a manga guy, but I remember a handful of times buying these Shonen Jump magazines and reading them in my house. I didn't stick with it because reading right to left felt very unnatural to me, as well as the oh no, come on, that's my go, buddy. I'm going anyway. Get mad. As well as the fact that it was a really big magazine, and I knew if I bought them all the time, I would have this gigantic stack before you knew it. So I think I only bought like 4, maybe 5 of these Shonen Jump magazines. So here's the thing. Every other month, Shonen Jump would package their magazine with some sort of trading card at that time. I don't know if this is something they always did or if they did it for the few that I picked up, but I managed to get a hold of 3 trading cards this way. One was a Yu-Gi-Oh card, one was a Bleach trading card game card, which is now out of print, and one is a Naruto trading card game card, which is also now out of print. I think the Yu-Gi-Oh card, at one point I got it out and tried to sell it, like years ago. But I distinctly remember it didn't sell. The eBay price at that time was like $250 for the card. So I tried to sell it for like $2. Price the item low, just get it to sell, get it out the door. But it didn't end up selling. So that's still somewhere. But I came across the Naruto card and the Bleach card. And hang on a second. Doing the driving thing now. Oh my gosh. So I looked up those 2 trading card games, and it turns out they're both out of print. I think the Bleach trading card game in particular was only being printed for 2 years or a year and a half or so. Yeah, so I don't think they're going to be worth any money. I don't think I could flip them, but I do think I'll make it for a halfway decent video. So that's something I recently uncovered in my house. A couple of 10-year-old trading cards from defunct trading card games. So if I could just throw all this away and turn around and go home for the day, I'd fire up the PS2 and I'd play Ratchet and Clank, Going Commando, because I bought it, I opened it, and it's been sitting on my desk for days and I haven't tried it. I should have played it this morning. I've been enjoying Rust, but there's also been this needle in the back of my mind that's like, you should be playing Rust right, or you should be playing you should be playing Ratchet and Clank now. But you know, I think at this point I have so many games that whatever game that I play, I'm gonna have that thought in my head about some other game. So at this point, I'm just content to be into a game enough that there is a game that I want to play when I sit down. Just thankful that I don't find myself sorting through my collection looking for something to play. I've already got something to go to. This is the game that's in my head that I'm thinking about playing, and I'm going to go play it. That's a good place to be when it comes to video games. You don't want to have to be lost in a big collection where you can't actually find something to play, because that sucks. And with that, I'm going to send you guys back to the studio. It's September. This is busy season at work. I got to go find a way to harden myself a little bit and go deal with my work day. I'll see you guys back there.
All right, let's do this. Before we move on, let's take a quick break. I've got an audio comment from good old Balzac, and he's got some good stuff to go over. So let's take a listen.
So yeah, you're probably surprised when you see another audio comment so early, than my last one. But there's because I wanted to comment on a couple things you said recently in the past few episodes. So let's start with X-Link Kai. Yeah, we could definitely do it on the PS2 if you're really inclined to do so. But if there's an Xbox version and a PS2 version, I would kind of prefer you to get the Xbox version, because usually the Xbox version has a better frame rate and probably higher quality textures, but that's just me. But if you want to really only do it on the PS2, there's a couple of PS2 only X-Link Kai compatible games we could try. And SOCOM's the one you mentioned them, but one that I'll recommend is Jack X Combat Racing. That one is pretty good, because it's from Naughty Dog, so these are from the same people that made Crash Team Racing on the original PlayStation. But so, yeah, you're in for a good time. It's literally just Crash Team Racing with a Jak and Daxter skin. And, obviously the graphics are a lot better because they're using PS2 technology. So that's something. And yeah, I tried that a couple times, and it was on X-Link Kai, and it's pretty good. It's a pretty good game, because, it's like a mixture of Twisted Metal and Mario Kart, but instead of using turtle shells, you're just gunning down your opponents, or, like, you ever played Jak and Daxter? Yeah, where you just shoot an eco or power cells. Yeah, so that's one. And what's another one? Oh, Twisted Metal Black. That's another one that we could definitely try. Because yeah, you were into Vigilante 8 recently, so literally, Twisted Metal is car shooting game, except it's on the PS2 this time instead of the PS1. So obviously the graphics are gonna look a lot better than those older Twisted Metal games. So we could definitely give that one a shot. But I just, all the other stuff that's like multi-platform, like Time Splitters or Call of Duty, and Tony Hawk, I kind of want to go for the original Xbox versions. So yeah, that, and Hemrock. Yeah, I know you're probably listening to this, but yeah, you keep saying, you said in one of your previous comments that X-Link Kai looked complicated. It's not really. It's just, like I said before, you just connect your, get a LAN cable, connect it to your system, and then connect that LAN cable to either your LAN port on your laptop or your desktop, and that's about it. And then download the software from X-Link Kai's website, and then that's about it. And then I don't know. You should probably look at a few YouTube videos if you're interested, because they could probably explain it a lot better than I am, because you could have visuals to accompany how they're setting up, but it's not very hard. But I could also understand why you're not really into you wouldn't be into this kind of stuff because, yeah, you said you only use your Xbox to usually play Morrowind, so you probably only want to play single player games. So you probably have that and a couple of RPGs that you probably put on the back burner. So I could understand why you wouldn't really be, hankering to play multiplayer. Because I'm not. I'm also the same way, especially with modern multiplayer. But I usually want to give this a go because one of the main selling points of the original Xbox back in the early 2000s when it was a relevant console was that you could play online. So I feel like I'm not getting the full Xbox experience unless I, play with people that aren't in the same room as me. So yeah, that's mostly that. And what's next? Oh, Magfest tickets, huh? Yeah, $80. Yeah, that's a really steep, especially since you said you started paying when you first started going. You were only paying $40. Yeah, that's steep. But yeah, I never been to Magfest mainly because I'm not at the East Coast. But I think the main reason why I would have went years ago was to see Derek Alexander of well, he's not HVGN anymore. He's stopped skeletons from fighting today. I would have liked to maybe see a panel from him and Starship. Yeah, Starship Amazing. I think used to go to MagFest before too, but they don't exist anymore because I think they broke up a few years ago. And I don't know if Calvin is still making music or not, but he probably doesn't go, or he probably doesn't go to conventions anymore since Starship Amazing's not a thing anymore. And I think Spoonie went one year. I think. Yeah, I know he definitely went 1 year, but I don't think he ever went back ever again. But I would have wanted to see him, but probably not. I would have went to see Spoonie back in the day, but probably not today because, not really interested in his content anymore. And yeah, but just to give you a little bit of context, $80 is nothing compared to the convention scene over here in California where the main two big ones are E3 and San Diego Comic-Con, where E3, I think it's $200 $200 for all 4 days, and the San Diego Comic-Con is much worse. That's $400, and I think both of those tickets sell out like really quick, like probably an hour or two after they're posted. So if you want to try to get into those, if you, in California for some reason, you probably would have to plan that out way months beforehand. And even then, that's like a steep, price hike. So just giving you that context. So, I guess on this with the questions, that's what I usually do with these kind of things. I know you're not really into the animes, but I think, I have to have your opinions on the movie Perfect Blue because I recently saw it and it came out in select cinemas recently. So I saw it a few days ago since, I live in LA, so there was bound to be a cinema close by here that was playing it. And yeah, it was good movie. It was a pretty good movie. Yeah, really trippy and weird and stuff. But yeah, I think one of the things I really like about it was the late 90s anime aesthetic. So there was a lot of outdated tech in it, like an old Macintosh computer or a PS1, but I also like that this is, back then they used to make their films through cells instead of what they do now, which they make all their Japan makes all their anime movies through a computer. So it was nice to see, a late 90s anime movie in the theater with that kind, with film grain and all that, or, not film grain, but, you could definitely tell when something's filmed with actual film than nowadays where it's usually filmed digitally. So it was nice to see something like that. And yeah, and I think, it was a good movie, but there's like a couple scenes in it that, like, I went with the theater that was showing it here was, it was a crowded screening, or not crowded, but it was pretty packed in there, and I felt kind of weird watching the simulated rape scene in that because I felt kind of squirmish because I watched this movie before years ago by myself, and it was dubbed though, so I don't really remember if it was good or not that way, but I saw the Japanese one, but even then I still felt kind of weird watching this, but I still had a good time, and it was a good movie. So Okay, yeah, sorry, I'm getting off topic here. So, opinions on the movie Perfect Blue. Since you don't touch anime, so I wanted to ask you about one of the animes that you said you did watch that you liked. Okay, so that's about it. So, later.
Balzac, my man. Oh, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Thanks for the audio comment. You know how much I appreciate those. So let's see. Just a quick recap. We talked about PS1 2 versus the Xbox using X-Link Kai. Talked a little bit about MagFest. Talked a little bit about Starship Amazing. And what did I think of Perfect Blue? So we're gonna take this bottom up. What did I think of Perfect Blue? I saw that movie on a recommendation. It was Retro Kaiser who was like, "Hey man, that's what you got to see." So I remember it being awesome. I also remember not really understanding 100% what was happening. I remember a guy getting stabbed below the belt, and it being super cool, and I remember really old computer technology being shown off in the movie, which was really cool. I could actually go for watching that again. Perfect Blue is a winner. You talked a little bit about Starship Amazing and MagFest. Couple things about Derek and MagFest. He moved from Anchorage to Seattle, and he stopped going, I think, probably the year after I started going. He was there the very first year I went, and I actually got to meet him. I never saw a panel with him, but I went to the arcade at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and he was there. He was playing X-Men, the X-Men stand-up arcade cab with like 3 other people, and I had my Starship Amazing t-shirt on, the one with the old one from like 2010 that had the rocket ship with the earphones on it. And I was like, "Hey man," and let me tell you, that dude is short. He is the opposite of tall, and I was kind of shocked, but it was also the middle of the night, so something about my brain and just being able to talk to people and the whole charisma, whatever charisma I possess, it just goes away at night. And he was like, "Hey man, hey, good, yeah, hey, there, it was good to see you." And he invited me to join the game of X-Men, and I was like, "No, I couldn't do it." I was like, "Nah, man." But it was cool because at that point he was still like one of my heroes. So it was awesome to not just see a panel, but actually get to meet him and walk up to him and talk to him. So that was Derek Alexander at MagFest, and he was still HVGN at that point. So pretty awesome. He was in this period where his HVGN series had kind of dried up. Like he would make short videos on occasion, but he was really focused on his band. It was all about Starship Amazing. I don't know if Calvin ever went there or not. I have no idea. But I can tell you that Calvin was more of a music guy, much less a video game guy. So I wouldn't be surprised to hear he never went. I can tell you that Starship Amazing's last release was in 2015. They released a demo with like 3 songs on it that was actually really good, and it's still available. Name Your Price, which is pretty sweet. When they decided to hang it up, I guess they just took all of their past work and then just made everything Name Your Price, which is really awesome. Yeah, it's even Ruby Dagger, which yeah, Name Your Price. Look at that. Pretty sweet stuff. All right, so we did Perfect Blue, we did Starship Amazing. Yeah, MagFest is going to be a lot of fun this year. Now we get to X-Link Kai. So based on this audio comment, I heard this when you first submitted it. I listened to it. And based on this, I ordered a copy of Jack X Combat Racing. I was surprised how cheap I got it. I have it right here. I haven't opened it yet. Yeah, I'm going to open that tonight. So that's one game that I have now. Whether or not we go between the Xbox and the PS2, I don't think really matters. I think what matters more is to focus on what game do you want to play. So based on your comment, I've got Jack X Combat Racing. I also already have Twisted Metal Black. Those are 2 games you listed that I have. We don't have to pick a game that I have, but let's pick something so that I can get a copy. I have no problem playing the OG Xbox. You want to play some Tony Hawk? You want to play some Call of Duty? That sounds great. As a matter of fact, Oh, I hope that doesn't pop too bad. I'm looking over at my games now, and I believe I do have some Call of Duty for the original Xbox. I don't know if I have any up there. Tell me, is Dead or Alive among the X-Ling Kai supported games? Because that would just, my brain would explode. It looks like I have a copy of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2X for the original Xbox. That's another one I have. Ghost Recon 2, Crimson Skies. I'll have to dig into my collection and figure out exactly what I do and don't have. But yeah, man, just pick the game. Pick the game that you want to play, and we'll set it up. Once again, really good to hear from you, man. All right, let's go back to the YouTube page and see what else we got. I know there's a couple of more comments. Back on episode 251, The Face of Pure Rage, which, by the way, we'll start with Alex Swingle. He writes, thank. That's his comment. So, Alex, I left this in a reply, but last week's episode has done better than any episode of the last 2 months. And I think it's all because of the Swingle face. The Swingle face being the face of Tiger Claw Radio. So thanks for that. Kaiser says, this should be the album cover to the next Green Leo album. I would love to do another Green Leo album. I think now more than ever. Desm101 writes, dude, I love your impressions. At 45 minutes, the typical YouTube tutorial. We'll check out my Insta for pictures of Chinese food. Lately, I've been playing my PS1 games on my PS3. Works great and outputs in 1080p. The PS TV, hacked, plays PS1 backups pretty nice as well. And then at 59 minutes and 45 seconds, the only way I got that score on Rollerball was getting lucky enough to access multi-ball. So cool to see that in an NES pinball game. Loving the high score challenge. I had a good weekend updating my scores in Space Cadet and NES pinball. Last, I just wanted to say I'm impressed with how you're able to put these together every week. Awesome job, man. Don't sweat a thing if you need to take a break. One topic I love to hear you cover is the name Tiger Claw TV. What's the story behind it? Is it a Wing Commander reference? And maybe a quick retrospective of your older comment with the animated character, which I always picture in my head when I hear your voice. Well, those are the great reviews. Those are great reviews from the early YouTube days. Thanks, man. That's really cool to hear. Well, I haven't told this story in a while, so now's as good a time as any. I'm an IT professional now, but when I started doing YouTube, I didn't even have a high school diploma, and I was working with a plumbing company, and I was the smallest of a lot of really big dudes. So at the time, I would always, my joke was when they got me upset, I'd be like, I know I'm small, but if you're not careful, I'll whip out the Tiger Claw and I'll take care of everything. And it would make everybody laugh because, of course, I really had nothing. And that was Tiger Claw. So the Tiger Claw was not a Wing Commander reference, though I do love that it's something from Wing Commander as well. And I do love that franchise. And then when I decided to start making YouTube videos, one of the things I wanted to do was make reviews of old Kung Fu movies because I was watching a lot of them at the time. It was something I was really digging. But that was also 2008 into 2009 when I first started, late 2008. So at that time, that was when, the angry video game nerd was really leaving his mark on the world. And I just ended up with video games. I did go back and actually do a Kung Fu movie review. I did a review of the Street Fighter starring Sonny Chiba, which is a video I'm actually really proud of. I might do another one again, but as the years went on, I haven't gone back to watch a Kung Fu movie in quite some time. But that's where Tiger Claw comes from. It comes from something I used to say at work. As well as wanting to do Kung Fu movie reviews. All right, give me a second here. Let's see. And Death Adder writes, reported and flagged for misleading thumbnail. Henry Cavill isn't even in this episode. Swingle's prophecy was true then. Did I hear that right? That Steam games that require XP won't work anymore? If that's true, then I expect Swingle to show up at Gabe Newell's doorstep. to deliver a AA spinebuster so powerful that it would make Arn Anderson proud. So you are the only person I know who plays Dead by Daylight, and I'm back on a DBD bender in a bad way. I just wanted to warn you that if you ever start playing as the killer, avoid Leatherface. I've received less kills and more teabags than I ever knew was possible. He is basically Hillbilly if Hillbilly was completely useless. Anyways, that's all I've got to add to this one. Take care, bro. Death Adder, my man. Good to hear from you. And in a sad way, it's really good to hear you're playing Dead by Daylight again. As much as A, I know we can't play it together, and B, you were not enjoying it last time. At the same time, it's like he's playing a game that I know, so I can talk about it and relate to him on some sort of level. So in that respect, I'm it's cool to hear. Dead by Daylight's a great game. I had this weird session where it was like I was sitting in my bedroom on my secondary computer, and my wife had the TV on, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take my headphones off. We'll play around at Dead by Daylight without sound, and we'll just see how it goes. Now, Dead by Daylight it depends so heavily on audio cues. You can't play that game without sound. So I played it, and somehow I managed to escape. I can tell you that without sound, doing the repairs is like impossible, because you're not going to hit the mark when you try. It gives you that audio cue just before the needle starts going up, on the repair skill checks. So I found that out pretty quick, but thankfully I had a competent team, and I was able to ride their coattails and get out of there. So the first match I played, I escaped, and I was like, that's it. I'm not going to be able to escape a second time, so we're just going to call that it. That was like a weird, surreal sort of thing that happened a while back. And as it relates to Windows XP, here's what I would like to know. I would like to know the name of a game that requires XP, and the name of a game that's not going to work on anything now that XP is unsupported. I know that in theory that should be the case for something. There's got to be something that requires XP, but I don't know what that would be. I mean, I honestly have no idea. So I'm open to figuring out what it is that's actually broken and then jumping on the rage train about it. But I really have no idea. It seems like all the games I have work in one facet or another. So I think it's just dumb, because I don't think it's turning anything off for other people. I think it's just the fact that XP can't access Steam now sucks. So my old secondary computer, it's like, what's even the point? What is even the point? Thank goodness for GOG. and you know what that sound means. That's Dave's song. Good old Dave's song from Maniac Mansion. Just let it play for a second. I know it's just an MIDI copy from VGmusic.com, but I still like it after all this time. Maniac Mansion was such an awesome game, wasn't it? Well, alright, with that, boys and girls, if you've been, whatever's got you here 58 minutes into Tiger Claw Radio, thanks for spending your time with me. I really appreciate it. It's been a wild ride, these 252 episodes, and here's hoping for 252 more, and then on into the future. So whatever it is that you're facing when you turn this off and go back to work or school or wherever it is you are, I'm wishing you the best. I'm really rooting for you. I sure am. Have a good week. I'll see you next Monday.